All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our poetry reading in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. First of all, I'd like to thank Zoe Ramos, Alex Salinas, and Juan Manuel Perez for reading today. They're all three very talented poets, and Del Mar College is honored to have you all read for us today. Zoe, Alex, and Juan all have South Texas roots and a connection to Corpus Christi, and they all have a distinct poetic style, which I enjoy and I think the audience will as well. So first up reading is going to be Zoe Ramos. Zoe Elise Ramos, aka Zer, is a senior editor of Windward Review Creative Journal and a graduate student at TAMU CC. They use poetry as a method of research in multimodal creativity, polymorphous perversity, and the extended mind hypothesis. Their latest interests include visual presentation, spoken word, and handwritten poetry, with meaning generated from a textual interplay, chronology, or lack thereof. Zoe is a CC native and calls themselves one of the weirdest persons you'll ever meet. So I'll turn it over to you now.
So some of you know that I'm a visual poet. So I make presentation poetry sometimes, and this is just a jazzy starter slide here. Just to let you know, I'm not going to do something you might expect for a poetry reading. And I guess I'm going to call this my shit show for important reasons. And I have to tell you, I apologize for the cursing. I asked no one in advance if that was okay, but I just got to blaze through that at this point. And so why am I calling this my shit show? Because this is a presentation that sort of mimics the style of a last-minute presentation. So why presentation poetry? Why put things together in this way? It's because I like to think that presentations do things that regular poems, written poems, and even spoken poems can't do. Because think about PowerPoints, and I guess what you're thinking at this point is that I'm going to teach you something, but the truth is that I don't really know what I'm talking about. So how to use this to your advantage? I hope that I can show you that there's an important texture here to the work that's being done, despite me being self-deprecating here and wanting to tell you that this is almost going to be a satire, but let's remember that it is Hispanic Heritage Month, and so the choice I made here to make a kind of low-quality PowerPoint, I wanted to bring the statement back to the racial justice, issues that are going on right now, and a lot of the, important discussions being made. And I also want to tell you that I, being somewhat of a younger generation, I want to say that I am a Latinx person, but the truth is that I don't know a lot about these important discussions, and I don't get a lot of chances to talk about these things. And so things about multimodality is you can talk to an audience in unexpected ways. You can talk about things that and maybe you have to be vulnerable sometimes and just say you don't know what you're talking about, but that's okay because the presentation poem is new terrain, and so your audience has to relearn the lay of the land. Let's see. And so getting back to my concept here and the concept of race and how it can be used in this medium, Gwendolyn Brooks' Third Sermon on the Workland is a very famous poem written in 1969. And I wrote a shell poem or a found poem using her work. And it's going to be confusing when I finally get to that poem in just a couple slides. What's my work and what's theirs? And the idea is that there's such a fine poet, and I do not write in a fine style. I don't have finesse. Obviously, this is not the style that I have at this point, and I cannot trick you into liking or appreciating what I'm doing. But this is about appropriation and what can happen whenever the discussion changes, when people like me that may be young or ignorant which are not one and the same. What happens when these things come together? The truth of the matter is that I started writing this on June 2021, which was the first federal Juneteenth, the shell poem that I'm talking about. And I remember that day that someone I was talking to told me, guess what day it is today? It's National Martini Day. And I thought that was kind of funny because I was aware that it was Juneteenth, but a lot of people weren't aware. And it looks like National Martini Day trended a little bit more on that day. And so we've come far with the racial justice fight, but we haven't come that far, right? That's part of the statement here. I swear I'm about to get to the poem. Okay. So here's Gwendolyn Brooks. Here's that poem of Gwendolyn Brooks. And finally, my poem. And I know maybe we're a little confused at this point, but here is the poem that I was talking about, the shell poem. And so the remainder of this presentation, I'm going to read that poem for you, and it's going to be a little bit of improvisation, but I want this to be an authentic experience, and I want you to get to know me as a poet, my ignorance, and the ways that I would like to not be ignorant when it comes to race and my Hispanic heritage. So this poem is called "The Earth is a Beautiful Place." The earth is a beautiful place, water mirrors and things to be reflected, goldenrod across the little lagoon. What does it take to get to that place where people love you and still know the real you, tapered and peeling off from the teeth, weak? Life's a struggle if you want to be worth the letters in your name. 3 is the number of times I have tried to write a memoir. The materials there, like most brief periods of my life, have been a gorgeous shit show, painful narratives that anyone could eat the whole bag of. Our chains are in the keep of the keeper in a labeled cabinet on the second shelf by the cookies, with punctuations of delusion, bodily dismemberment, and other neat terrors that all become the same stupid saccharine flavor. But I am reminded of what an English teacher once told me in high school, that based on a true story means that a story is definitely a little bit untrue, and so I've never written that memoir. In Egyptian mythology, a phoenix is a bird that lived for 500 years and then consumed itself in fire, rising renewed from the ashes. This all seems impressive, but why 500? Who or what compels a creature to destroy itself for a show, and what makes one embrace more immortality, but also death? Love is mercy, love is plain, holy, and profane. Love is sex, but it doesn't have to be. Love, I thought. What if art is like the mapping of emotions, encapsulating moments, allowing them to play us? What if id, ego, and superego are real, but we only get fragments of reality, a shadow of the future? Time leaves its essences in the fabric of reality. Literally everything we think and feel is conceding to that, because time is elastic and wave-like. The everything, the bigness, compared to us, the small. The black philosopher says, love can also be brutal fire. Fire, 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 fire. Smoke, the white philosopher says, it is better to light one candle than curse the darkness. Here, guns loaded. Fire, fire. Rioters knowing no why. Go still in hell. Fire. Sit and sun yourself in sin and fire. As a college freshman, I remember writing a paper where I made this argument for philosophy, and it was that love is one of the few things that exists for the sake of us just being aware of that feeling of it existing. And I thought that was a pretty clever argument, but also I just didn't want to have an argument that I needed a citation for. But I was very, excited to see that my professor loved that argument. But now my present self knows that that's an illogical argument. I was being lazy. And now I know as a graduate student that you have to bury everything you say in about at least 10 different sources and 10 different complex arguments just to support one little feeling, which is that love equals love equals love. Love is there. You can feel it. You know it's there. But still, this is an argument with no legs or limbs and nothing to dismember, which makes it illogical. I know this now. A woman is dead, mother woman, she lies among the boxes. Am I inside a box while writing this? I have not been able to write poetry lately. I've had writer's block, but I can still find freedom by playing with language and moving around grammar and other things, possibly breaking out of other people's work like rap music or found poetry or just really shitty poetry. That's fine too. Sometimes you need to try different things just to get your mind moving, just to figure out what's going to happen next in your life. What is poetry, though? In an odd way, it is out of my comfort zone. Not to be out of my comfort zone. Poetry is difficult, and it's not. It's wilderness. It's fragile and futile, and the strongest force in your life if you know it by name. I think everyone is obsessed with love deep down. Everything I read about is about love to me, even painful, anxiety-inducing news and half-truths. Believe me, it is bewildering, not the news feed, but just how much people are unaware that hatred is clearly about love. It all comes down to feeling unseen. And fear not perfection, because you will never reach it. Trust equals trust. When you feel or seem high above other people, everything you say is oppressive and commandeering. This is why I choose to write shitty drivel. The ironic, cheerful bullshit, shitty, unfinished drivel like this is the only non-contradiction. This is an unavoidable consequence of living in this world and being human. Why do people offend themselves, they say, and why do we abandon each other by abandoning ourselves? Say those that also say it's time to help these people. All the contradictions. We know sick logic when we see it, read it, feel it, but yet I am still reminded that love is love equals love equals love is illogical, beautiful, circular, incomplete, but also incomplete and complete at the same time. This is an unavoidable consequence of living in this world, and it's painful and beautiful. Lies are told, legends made, Phoenix rises unafraid. There are things in language that shouldn't really be there. There are things that should be in words and mind in books that aren't. There is unfinishment that most recognize but don't cognize. We know this as poets. Love as love. And then it was over. The dust, as they say, settled. I'm sorry. That is the end of that poem. See if you can call it a poem. Yes, go ahead, clap for me. I have 2 minutes here, and I just have one last slide. The conclusion, visual poetry depicts both the subject and the object of the writing. That sounds complicated, but clearly you can see me as the speaker, my flaws, the ways that I stumble over words and try to come up with the right things to say and try to find the right things to say for this important time in history, Hispanic Heritage Month 2021. Thank you so much for listening to my drivel, or is it genius work? Who knows at this point? I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. I love the imagery. All right, so next we're going to have Alex read. Alex Z. Salinas is the author of 2 full-length poetry books, Warbles and Dreamt, or The Lingering Phantoms of Equinox. Dreamt received a starred review from Kirkus Reviews. Salinas is also the author of a collection of stories from SAR Press, City Lights from the Upside Down. He holds an MA in English Literature and Language from St. Mary's University, and he is the content manager for the nonprofit SA 2020, and lives in San Antonio, Texas, and was born in Corpus Christi. Alex?
Thank you, Jennifer, for this. Zoe, that was fantastic. Hard act to follow here, so thanks for that. And Juan, it's great to be here with you. Thank you to Del Mar College, and this reading is dedicated to my mom and dad who many moons ago attended Del Mar. So, Connect 4. When I was 8 or 9 years old, my parents in the summer dropped me off at my grandparents' house on Camargo Street. It had a little brown roof and a basketball-pelted garage door. The house sat across from an old dirt field where baseball was once played by my older brothers and cousins. My grandma would either be in her tiny kitchen, making fresh tortillas with lard, slapping the dough with her small blue veiny hands, or in her bedroom that smelled of incense and gardenias, lying down to Telemundo. My grandpa would either be in the cramped living room watching Lucha Libre wrestling, drinking Milwaukee from the can, or off somewhere else, most likely smoking in solitude. The days were long then. Every so often, my grandma retrieved Connect 4 from her closet and shook the box, clanking the little plastic pieces to let me know it was game time. Magic to my ears. I'd always lose. For a transplant from Walawisas, where Cabeza de Vaca once stepped foot and showed the benevolence of God to the dark-skinned natives. My homebody grandma, sharp as a dagger. We wouldn't talk during our matches, as if the yellow Swiss cheese wall of Connect 4 between us had reached out and pinched our tongues. But the truth was, I couldn't speak Spanish. After my grandma won, she'd release the red and black checker pieces, which came crashing down hard onto the dining table. Chiquito, the ever-annoying Chihuahua, barked like mad. My grandma cackled like an old lady, and I'd stare at her dentures, a little frightened, but then remember to laugh too. At some point, we reinserted the chips and played again. This next one, I don't think I've ever read in any sort of a public, quasi-public setting, so try it out. Mixed feelings. Mixed materials is another way to create confusion. Mixed materials is another way to infuse infusion. Mixed materials is another way to have fun. Mixed materials is another way to come undone. Mixed materials gives me mixed feelings. Mixed feelings is another way to say you hate it. Mixed feelings is another way to say you love it. Mixed feelings is another way to play the fool. Mixed feelings is another way to mix the pool. Mixed feelings gives me mixed feelings. Mixed blood is another way to say mestizo. Mixed blood is another way to say who are you. Mixed blood is another way to say what are you. Mixed blood is another way to spill the blood. Mixed blood gives me mixed feelings. No matter what, this blood won't wash away in the rain. No matter what, this blood won't burn away in the desert. No matter what, this blood will flow to the beat of its own maracas. No matter what, this blood will drink its own blood. And that gives me mixed feelings. And this last one I'll read from Warbles. The great thing about being sometimes Hispanic. The part when I infiltrate the imperialist hive, but not the part when my wings fall off. The part when I afford to shop at Target, but not the part when I still eat Taco Bell. The part when my skin looks white, but not the part when it tans after a hike. The part when I speak un poquito Spanish, but not the part when I can't understand grandma. The part when I earn a college degree, but not the part when I can barely pay for it. The part when I have many brothers and sisters, but not the part when there are 3 mothers. The part when my father pronounces chair share, but not the part when we laugh at him. The part when I am mistaken for full white, but not the part when my name sounds full brown. The part when I am blessed with rhythm, but not the part when I hate to dance. The part when I got it going on in my pants, but not the part when I can't keep it in. The part when I dreamt I was white, but not the part when I opened my eyes. The part when I dream I am Hispanic, but not the part when I open my eyes. Thank you all. I'll move on to some few poems from Dreamt. And I reference a one of my favorite writers, a muse for me named Roberto Bolaño. Believe I have one more poem that references him, but he was a Chilean writer, novelist, and a poet. Savage. I dreamt I was translating a poem by Roberto Bolaño, but his words resisted my touch, my gaze, squirted hot mezcal into my cocoa eyes, of which my tongue refused to lick the dripping drink due to its teetotaler master. And in this way, every single way imaginable, my native tongue has resisted me. Moving along. Okay. How you know a tree falls in the woods? Because a white person's there to hear it. All right. Moving along. When being offended was the answer to everything. Kanye taught me that inside every man is an adorable chipmunk who's starved, and it's okay to be famished, spastic, stack and store nuts for winter seasons when people get Saint Nick emotional and deem every little thing you say the wrong way, personal, as if they've disregarded their thick skin supplied by founders, pelts growing rougher and tougher each year due to global roasting. It's a real thing, John Wayne summer heat. And if sadly we lose our armor, our ice-cool lemonade noggins, where would that leave us but in recursive flux, a stickier rut, a darker, diseased medieval land administrated by squirrely nutcases? Want endangered Gaia to slug forward? Want to savor her embrace for a change? Tell her you relish her new floral sundress. The last one I'll read, Gallery, from this book. I dreamt I was the sound of my words, fulfillment of gasp everlasting, clouding the blood-specked mirror, middleman marching in the middle of the desert where Paul's beheaded bones roam free. And in the gallery, bolstered by plain white walls, I, the everyman, witnessed the infinite in the milky blue eyes of the stoop-shouldered attendant who turned her back while I nosed up paintings, absorbed cathedral vapors that sooner or later render dusted portraits of us all. All right, and then I'll use the rest of my time just to kind of read some new stuff. Maybe I'll get to some other fun ones that I've been just writing called trash poems. I've just literally been writing them on napkins and pieces of gum wrappers. So let me get through this. All right. Library. Here I'm referencing another writer that I love, the iconic Mexican writer named Juan Rulfo, who wrote, I believe, 2 books in his lifetime, but super revered. But he was also a photographer. Check out his, Google his photography to check it out. So, library. I dreamt of a library in which, in the middle of an antechamber, Juan Rulfo sat reading a slender book, likely a long-forgotten poetry collection. And I said to him, Juan, Mr. Rulfo, what the hell are you doing in here? I thought they weren't letting anyone in, he replied. I thought this palace was barricaded. Sir, I said, you calling me a ghost? He shut his book and smiled. His pallid lips slitted like a corpse's. He reached inside his blazer, pulled out a sepia photograph. A picture of the sky, he said. I call this El Dios. You're crazy, I told Juan Rulfo. You must be a Mexican writer. Then I gave him my email address, said to stay in touch, that I'd teach Pedro Paramo to my students. He waved me off and said, minor work by a minor visionary. You're nuts, I told Juan Rulfo. Absolutely mad. You must be the god of Latin America. I left, and he returned to his book, peaceful, legs crossed like a gentleman. This next one, I reference another an Argentine writer that I love his stuff, Julio. I believe the right way to say his last name is Cortázar, but I might just say Cortázar. I'm sorry for being lazy, my tongue. This one's called Split. I dreamt my eyes were split wide apart, wider even than Julio Cortázar's, as though in preparation for rainwater to carve down my face a river, or perhaps for it to lay as a landing strip for a legal aerial activity. midnight Cessna runs, and my eyes on the sides of my head saw that I wrote in dual dimensions, right and left. Therefore, I could no longer be a middling poet. I simply couldn't, as if my eyes, forked far and wide, had ruptured something inside me, something intangible, irreparable, and my words would always blossom from concurrent, divergent paths, paths destined never to lick each other, simple as that. And I cussed the wretched force who wrenched apart my eyes, spread them like butter. And was it Cortazar's voice I discerned from my bookshelf? A smoky bass vibration that greeted, "Welcome, Tiger, to the ongoing revolution. How are your new eyes treating you?" To which I replied, "It feels like I only go backwards," to quote Tame Impala. To which Cortazar, tickled, said, "You youngsters baffle me." All right. I have another one called Blender, and here's the second referencing of Bolaño. I'm sorry for being a Bolaño fanboy. I just love the guy's work. Blender. As in dreams, as in life, in steaming black coffee, the faces fade, the bodies fade, heat fades. She critiqued Bolaño's books, saying they lean towards self-destruction, and she was right. Everything points to death, she said, and then I kissed her soft white neck. I slept sleepless for a week straight and thought, if I go away for a good while, the voices in my head become colorless, as if time is the great blender. I remember drinks my mother used to shake, slush the color of tapioca, or was it bright green? I dreamt of becoming tall like my maternal grandfather, and he was the first to enter back into the dirt. I think of how Dante dreamt of Virgil and how I daydream of Bolaño's dangling cigarette saluting the ground on which he trampled. My dirt, his dirt, the earth of Latin America. I'm not Latin American, not American. I'm the color wedged between two maps. Okay, and I'll just have a little more time left, so I'll read a few. Just again, I've called these trash poems. These are on like some napkins, and I'm just challenging myself to just like give myself one shot. No time really for editing, so it's like what you hear or what I write. Yeah, what you hear is what you get. So here are just a few attempts that I enjoyed. Okay. If you seek beauty, you are a narcissist, which is to say, a child of God. But so as to not isolate my non-believing friends, I jot these thoughts on trash past its functionality to prove or suggest the power of beauty at its darkest. How I shunned my principles and safety to see myself in a blood-toned woman because you told me years later you loved me the first time we kissed. Because color is love so potent, it begs like fruit to be sucked dry or worship only the ground. Here's another strange one, and since these are on brown napkins, I'm just calling them like brown napkin poems and numbering them. So here's another brown napkin poem. I am thankful I cannot see at once all, to quote Donald Barthelme, the interacting tendencies of this world. I am thankful for space. Mine no different from yours. I am thankful for governance. I, spawn of white-knuckled lust. Pawn, soldier up. Knuckles, broad and bony like papa's. Salute. I stretched so thin, heart skin of a water balloon. I am thankful for slow days at the office, the vacant kiss of a butterfly. Oh, tunnel vision, gorgeous goon, you give me room to bleed and write. This last one is one of my gum wrapper poems. So here it is, gonna read off of a tiny little piece of trash. If like a sun-baked detective or a bloodhound, I traced the scent of my roots, would invisible trail lines map the face of God? Not the best question, untrained in artistry and police work. I read a backwards poem through a mirror, and the space between time called crying and said, when are you coming home? Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Those are wonderful. All right. And last but not least, Juan Manuel Perez is a Mexican-American poet of indigenous descent and a poet laureate of Corpus Christi of 2019 to 2020. He is the author of several books of poetry, including the Elgin-nominated Space and Pieces, Screw the Wall and Other Brown People Poems, and the forthcoming book, Planet of the Zombie Sonnets. His poetry has appeared in numerous scholarly journals and reviews, national and international anthologies, as well as magazines and websites. The award-winning poet, history teacher, and pushcart nominee is also a member of the Poetry Society of Texas, the San Antonio Poets Association, the Horror Writers Association, the Science Fiction Poetry Association, the Horror Guild Author Guild, the Horror Authors Guild, the Baseball Bards, and the Military Writers Society of America. The former migrant worker worships his creator and chases chupacabras in the South Texas coastal bend area. Juan, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, and thank you, Delmar, and thank you, fellow poets. Definitely, we're a unique bunch, I'm telling you right now. So I'll get to it. Right off the bat, we'll read 2 poems from an old book of mine, Live on the Border, where I used to live next to the border. So I'll get to it. This was called I See Brown People. I see brown people when I sit to eat a salad, the onions, the tomatoes, the lettuce. I see brown people when I touch the walls of a new home, the floors, the cabinets, the plumbing. I see brown people when I stop to rest at night at a hotel, the bed, the carpet, the toilet. I see brown people when I see rich people, their cars, their homes, their children. I see brown people in long unemployment lines, long commodity lines, long prison roll calls, long funeral processions. I see brown people everywhere. Yet, where are they? In history books, in schools, in the world. And the second one from this book that I want to read is called Frijoles. Lady Liberty's melting pot es una olla de frijoles. Guess what's melting at the top? Si es queso, no te apures. From the Prager, Texas, hasta Latin, Chicago. From New York City hasta Califas Mexicanos. We are the spice of this nation. Ya nos estén quebrando. Brown is beautiful, yes it is. Los frijoles no se están quemando. Rise on up, live proud, si es que están probando. Don't become the imprisoned crowd. Deben estar gozando. Frijoles on the house, courtesy of the color brown. Thank you. Again, that's from Live from the Prize, an older book, 2014. And then the forthcoming actually came this week. Planet of the Zombies on it. It doesn't have any poems, but there's 2 poems in there that reference that, so to speak, and I'll talk about it. This was called Spanish. Of course, this is about zombie apocalypse and stuff, but this is we find in this poem a particular person that may or may not have been a racist at one point in time before the apocalypse. But the zombies don't care if you're racist or not, but the people that you're going to probably might. Okay, this is called Spanish. Los muertos viven! In broken Spanish, finally taking the effort to learn it, a language you never wanted to speak. Your agenda placed you way above it. Remember you said it was beneath you? Look at you now in this disturbing age. Problem though, it don't matter anymore. For fear sounds the same in any language. The undead don't care how you speak to them or how sweet the speech now appears to you. You know, it's all about the brain love with them. Plus, Spanish-speaking folks, locals are smiling. It only takes one to distract the hordes. Guess who they're saying they're going to knock down first? Anyway, so racists don't stand a chance. And then one more. Um, this is a workplace, and we get carried away, especially in the time right now of a virus. We get carried away with who's got the virus and who doesn't. In this case, of course, we're talking about zombies again. This is called stereotypical, and we don't know if it's true or not because people act different. Stereotypical. Trying not to be, but I can't help it. You can pretty much tell who is or not. I mean, who moans about work constantly? Who's always trying to get so close? Who's always struggling to walk or talk? Who's always late to our group meetings? I tell you, I know one when I see one. So if I see something, I'll do something. That's something on this list. Ricardo. He's a zombie if ever there was. I mean, look at him. He dresses funny. He smells horrible. He says my name weird. I just know I'm right. So who's with me? Let's vote to see who bashes brains in. Anyhow, little zombie fun there. All right. And the last, all the rest of the poems that I'm gonna read is from this book of Paul Press. It's called "Screw to the Wall" and Other Brown People Poems. I won't read the title poem. Some people do get offended by it, but I won't read that one. Plus, it requires a crowd. These are participation poems most of the time. Some of this doing this Zoom stuff has been a little bit difficult for me, but I know for some poets it's not as difficult. You know, but anyways, for me it's been kind of difficult because I like to feel the emotion of the crowd and get them going. So I'll read the rest of the poems from this book. This is called "Free." This one actually was published in Austin in Diversity, and actually won second place. I did not expect it to win anything, to be honest. $75, you know, it was free. All right. America, of thee I dream, land of my fathers, land of immigrant forefathers, land of the me, land of immigrant dreams. America, do you cry for me, for what has been done to me, for what we have done to us, brown people, black people, red people, all people? America, land of the free, land of the loving, land of the lost and looking for a way out of this mess. America, I weep for thee. If this just a thee did not come again, this Plato's republic dream. America, yes, America, I dream of thee, forever free, American. And these are from my migrant working days when I was a teenager. Didn't realize there was other life around me. But my father had dreams, and my father, of course, passed away. And I feel these dreams were realized through me. My father had a fifth grade education. My mom had a third grade education twice. That was the end of their education. And they pursued the life as micro workers and field workers, and my dad eventually was a ranch hand. And of course, I moved above that. I was the first graduate from my family, high school, of course, from college. You know the story already, as some people have experienced. The onion picker's dream. Distance between me, my father, sacks of onions, fields of shred, American home speaking no English, yet well providing for the English speaking world of hand picked onions for happy American grills. Distance between me, my future, stacks of books, proliferation of papers, Mexican tested, getting on by with English picked up from comic books where was the first English word spoken. Distance between me, my ethnicity, those hot onion fields so long ago, for American classrooms that never end, for those that ended many decades ago, abruptly for my onion picking father. Distance between that boy, this man, is what I've made of him, is what I have left to speak for, on improving that long distant dream that was originally my father's very own. And continue with that. Push farther, my father said. Of course, this is in reference to if you worked in the fields before. I started working when I was 8 years old. My dad would place us about 50 yards ahead, and we would catch up on when we pick onions through the rows. But it was a metaphor. It says, "Vete adelante, a little bit further, push farther." My father said. Under a clear Texas sky, the rain of poverty hit hard, sacks of onions upon my back, a memory distant, yet not far away. Push farther, my father said. This land will be reconquered, regrown, season upon season upon season, like life since when then, with onions, onions, and more onions. Push farther, my father said. Beyond this fields into others where I would not be on my knees, where the loose dirt would be under me, not on me, not over me. Push farther, my father said, and the only language he knew. That's why I learned this one to will the words that would free me from a lifetime of onion fields. Push farther, my father said. And this is little me in the fields. I am Juan in the fields. I am Juan. I have been born to privilege, working many migrant fields with my poorly educated parents who allowed me to complete mine. I am Juan. My belly is full of beans and tortillas, fresh early in the summer morning in the sea of undocumented brown people. I am Juan. My ears are rich with the sounds of grunts and groans of the onion cutting scissors, bleeding sweet its sour juices. I am Juan. My body constantly cool with my precious Mexican sweat, taking a break to talk to the onions, telling them to make a great feast of themselves. I am Juan. I am Juan of the free. I am Juan of the educated. I am Juan of the privileged. I am Juan, the onion fields. Thank you. This is there was a teacher that liked to use this word, this combination of words, but this is being an experience with the La Migra, Inmigración, immigration. It is called Sweet Jesus. La Migra stopped me, asked me for some papers. With a sly American smile, I produced a one-finger document. Needless to say, they thought my presentation was a little weak, adding that it needed some revision. So I produced a second document with my other hand. They were equally unimpressed. So after a few hours of interviews, several musical chair dances around my car, they finally figured out how American I really was, despite my Mexican ancestry. Yet it does beg me to question, does my blatant arrogance bother them as much as the color of my skin? Why do you question my allegiance to this mighty human race? What is it about me, about this glorious place, this United States of Aztlan? Why must we bicker about ownership in a world equally ours? God is surely shaking his head, wondering, can't they all just get along? Sweet Jesus! All right, glad you like that. The plight. This is for the immigrants, or rather the humans whose bones are found coming to a place to find a better life for themselves. The plight. I invite you into my soul, somewhere underneath my dark skin, where small differences divide us, like large oceans on opposite coasts. I invite you into my soul, somewhere behind my dark brown eyes, where deep dialects are cliches emphasized by the xenophobic demons in Hollywood. I invite you into my soul, somewhere between Texas and Mexico, where death reaches great dreams of otherwise hardworking people, I invite you into my soul just once, a little stroll. All right, this is my last poem here. What does it matter? I am violent as I am beautiful. I am damned as I am blessed. I am happy as I am unhappy. I am loved as I am hate. I am free as I am slave. I am red, white, and green as I am red, white, and blue. I am you, don't you see? As you should see that you are me. I am running in the streets as I am lying dead in them. I am El Rio Bravo del Norte as I am El Rio Grande. I am the Aztec descendants attacking the walls of the Alamo as I am the Aztec descendants defending it from inside. I am me because I am you. I am straight as I am crooked. I am brown as I am white. I am red as I am black. I am yellow as I am any other color. I am you as you are me. I am nothing as I am everything. I am human as I appear inhuman. I am human like you are human. I am substance because you are substance. Whatever you decided we should be matters not when I still love you. All of you living on this planet, those that have already left it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juan. All right, well, that concludes our presentation. Thank you, Zoe, Alex, and Juan for reading today and being a part of our Hispanic Heritage Month poetry reading.